Maddie, thank
Hi.
you, man, for joining me here
Yes. Thank
on
you for having me.
the Shrooman Show. So I like to address everyone and let them know that I don't like being scripted. I like to just have people come on and genuinely have a conversation, right? And essentially, what we're allowing is for vulnerability, so that people can join genuine and honest conversation.
That's good because, at first I don't like being told what to do. In second, I mean, that's the only way a person can be open and vulnerable is if they're honest and, open. And that's why I'm here. I think it's something that I need, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Truly. So, yeah, we'll kind of get into it. Essentially, I met you at what was really one of the lowest points of my life, actually. It was when we worked at a factory together,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really. I know I don't remember entirely how it happened, but I think we just ended up kind of crossing paths in like the hallway or something, or in the lunchroom, or
A girl knew I was into music, and
okay, that's right, that's
she
right.
yeah, and she knew you were into music, and obviously music is its unspoken bond in general. So
Amen
she's
to
like,
that.
"Hey, you got to meet this guy," and I volunteered to work on your line one day.
That's what it was. And then I was walking through that little hallway part or whatever it was, and then we by that big blue door, and I ended up. I think that's when we started
Hmm.
talking. You were wheeling in like some barrel of maybe just toppings or
Pizza
something, or yeah,
sauce or
something. It's less.
something like that. This is a pizza factory. You've
Yep.
probably had our pizzas before, by the way.
Oh man. But yeah. So I definitely did connect on that alone, right? And
Hmm.
I thought maybe obviously you would be like a connection to radio or something, but it turned out to be, I think, so much larger than that. And that's really what I want to get into today on this podcast is I want to give you a platform to really talk about, Maddie, the way of life that I refer to as Live Meraki.
Hmm.
And there it's not a product, it's not a service, right? It is a true way of life
Yes.
and changing who you are in order to really benefit from that highest potential version of you that already exists. And so, yeah, just I'm gonna kind of give you the floor and let you
Hmm.
take that from whatever point you want, whether it's when we met each other
Hmm.
and how things kind of ensued into this present moment. But yeah, I'm gonna let you take the floor.
You mentioned that you met, or I met you, or you met me, likewise, at what you say, your lowest point
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your life.
Essentially, I was really heavy into drugs and alcohol at that time, and I was not making good decisions in my life. But because of that, everything that occurred, which I'm not going to go into detail about, that's essentially how I found my way of life, which I again call living Meraki.
And at the time, you did not know this about me, but it was pretty much at the lowest point in my life too when we met. So obviously, this had to have happened for a reason. My story is I grew up in Beaver Dam. Been a radio broadcaster my whole life. Been doing it my whole life. It's been, an amazing career. I've had so many opportunities and so much fun. And I let the fun get to me. Um, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Alcohol. Um, Alcohol it's a big thing that people don't realize it is a problem for some and not for others. Alcohol is not a bad thing. I'm not here to say that at all. It's how people depend on alcohol, how they use alcohol as their backbone, and how they use it and not realize that they're using it as a crutch instead of a leisure activity, if that makes any sense. You have a hard day at work. You come back and you say, I want to have a beer. It's such a bad day. Everybody has said that in their life. I believe we've probably said that after working at the pizza factory.
Oh yeah, there's been
um,
days.
and to be honest, you don't need that beer. In my opinion, there are plenty of other activities, things of that sort that I feel that people use that backbone as a strength. It's not a strength. It's not a backbone that is strong. Eventually, that backbone is going to collapse on you. We've all had that night of drinking, and we're having a great time, and then either you yourself or a person has had an emotional meltdown at some point. That is what I consider your backbone possibly breaking. Now, when you met me, my backbone was strong. I felt like, alcohol was my thing. Alcohol was helping me. Alcohol was, keeping me up and about and keeping me going about my daily activities. Turns out I was wrong about that. But I never realized it until it was too late. And to be honest, you were one of the reasons I figured out I had a problem. Can we go to that part of the story?
Yeah.
And that's like to backtrack,
absolutely,
because
yeah,
I feel like this was a major part in my story because I needed somebody to tell me that I had a problem. I think people knew it, but nobody had the guts to tell me that I had a problem. And you did. We went to the gym one day, and you were giving me a ride, and you just noticed I was out of it. I wasn't looking healthy, and it was straight up, I was yellow. And that was my reality point there where I realized I had a problem. Now, I didn't do anything about that problem at that point, which I should have. And
I think so. And I'm just going to step in here
yes,
to
please.
kind of give my perspective from
Mm-hmm.
what was happening. This is a very strange topic for a lot of people, what I'm about to say. And I think that it sometimes doesn't register with many people,
Mm-hmm.
but I get essentially channeled messages.
Yes.
Okay. And it is from what I will just refer to as an infinite intelligence. And a lot of people can call that God, the universe, spirits, whatever it may be. Okay. And the night that I had seen you, I was sitting on my couch and I was actually very, very deep in a transcendental state.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, basically said, if you don't push Maddie to go into the ER, he's gonna die. And that was the message I got. And from that moment on, basically, I remember we linked up another time. We were going to the store. We were going grocery shopping because I was trying to help you get, I was giving you some rides and things, I think, because if I'm not mistaken, you had crashed your car.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. This
And
is the beginning of
yeah,
my problem. Yes.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want people to just be aware of how it came to be, where I knew that I essentially had what was a mission in my life.
Mm-hmm.
To ensure I did what I was told to do from that message, because I had no idea what it was in the moment. I just knew you didn't look good. But
Mm-hmm.
at the time, you told me that you had a reaction to tanning, which I didn't know anything other than the fact that, okay, why would you lie to me
You're
at the
right.
time, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so, yeah, I wanted to put that in here and let people know where that message came from after that time.
Yes, and you mentioned the crash. Now, I want to emphasize this was another big part of my life because the crash wasn't involving alcohol at the time, but it was my health.
Yes.
My body, this was my body telling me that something's wrong with you. You need to, it sent me to the hospital for weeks. I crashed my car after filling up with gas. I don't remember it. It was a reality check in life, and the doctor's like, your drinking caused this. You weren't under the influence at the time, but this is what caused this. And at that point, I was told I was at a 60-40 chance in life. And that 60% wasn't the good side of 60. I mean, it was they told me that I might not make it through this. So for you stepping in and you telling me about, you were told your message was that you wanted to save me, it worked, because you actually came to my side. You were in the hospital visiting me in one of my many weeks that I was there. And to be honest, not many people did that except for family, you know, and I knew there was something special there at that point. As weird as that will sound, but I knew that, you know, you were put in my life for a reason, especially at that point. And, you know, I can't thank anybody enough for getting me onto this path, because what I want to emphasize to people is the stress doesn't go away. It's just masked by the alcohol. And I was masking it too much, and it affected my health to the point where it almost killed me. Now, I know in the future it will have effects on my life, way down the road. I can't have any, you know, effect on that at all. It will affect me in the future, but I know that I am on a healthy path now. I'm doing myself better, and I think my goal now is to be like you, to be the Meraki way, to help others who might not realize that they could be on the same path that I was. Or if they are, that, hey, I'm starting to see these similarities. You know, stress can come in many different forms, whether you feel that everything in the past is in the past, and you have nothing to look forward to in the future. But you also can look at it as, you know, the past is the past, and nothing is more important than the future, your future. Because without treating yourself and take care of yourself, you don't have much of a bright future. Health-wise, emotional, mentally, physically, it all comes down to how you treat yourself, and how you treat others is going to reflect on that as well. And ever since, I haven't talked a lot about this, but my dad passed away from cancer last year in January. And the biggest regret I have to this day is just a couple of years before then, my dad was in my shoes where he was watching me on the hospital bed, not knowing if I was going to come home. And I would say that's by far the biggest emotional hurt of my past. And it's still haunting me, but again, past is past, and we got to look into the future and do better for ourselves. And I know he's looking down on me now, and he's proud of me. And yeah, you can hear the emotion a little bit here.
I can feel it, but it's because it's a very real thing, right? I didn't come to save you. You know, what I did was I came to show you how to save yourself. And I think that that's the biggest difference on choosing to live Meraki, because it is about paying it forward. It is about the fact that I was able to show you truth, a truth that was denied by you for a long time, because you were consistently lying to me. Mm-hmm. You were avoiding me, and you were doing things even though I knew.
Yep.
Even though I knew. And I got to a point where I said, Maddie, if you don't do this, I can't watch you kill yourself. I can't do it. And I'm going to have to, call you in. Mm-hmm. Even though I didn't want to, because it may have destroyed a friendship at the time, I knew it's what was best for you, and that if it was in the cards, you'd still forgive me one day. Mm-hmm. Because you were talking to me about going to the ER and, saying that you went and then not going. I kind of want you to talk a little bit about that experience for you from your perspective and how you were feeling.
Yep. One thing is, lies are the worst thing for people. once you lie, you got to keep lying. The truth is the easiest thing for someone to say. My experience on it was I didn't feel I was doing wrong. That's why I kept lying, I guess. I kept telling myself this is normal, this is okay. I don't have a problem. People around me not really telling me but you, which is I'm sorry, I can't put the blame. I'm not putting the blame on anybody.
You're not blaming anyone. You're just talking about the way I'm perceiving it is the fact that your environment outside of me was filled with the same like-minded people, the same kinds of thought patterns and things that you all thought. You all thought that maybe you didn't have a problem, when indeed you all did.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's very valid. That is not being the victim, and that's not blame shifting. I think it's being honest to the fact that your environment has a lot to do with your life, but at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, light can pull you out.
Mm-hmm. And the environment is before and after
Correct.
the decisions that I've made. Before, like you said, it did surround me, and it was something that I wasn't the only one that had the issue. And then, but also now that I have quit drinking, sober 3 years now, my life has completely changed. Especially when it comes to my social life. I do different things now. Which benefited me because I felt like the only place I could go while drinking was restaurants or bars. I didn't find entertainment outside of those activities because everybody else was doing them. And there's so much more out there on, a weekday or a weeknight or a weekend that can occupy your mind that, and that's just even a start. You don't even, at some point, you don't even need to occupy your mind. Right away in the beginning, it is difficult. Making the choice of whether slowing down or quitting. But after a while, it's not even thinking about it. It's the fact of just going out every day and living a normal life and not having the dependency of feeling normal while having a drink in your system. If putting a drink in your system is normal, then you have created a new normal in my book.
Yeah, and one of the things you did say, which I wanted to touch base on, is in the beginning you said that alcohol isn't bad, right? And I agree, alcohol is not bad. I believe that anything is bad when you give your power away to it. And it doesn't matter what it is. You can give your power away to anything and everything, in my opinion, and it's wrong unless it's God. That's my opinion, because I believe in that based on the things that have happened in my life. Essentially this whole situation, right, where there was a gift at a point in time that I was unearthing and was developing for me. And essentially, I listened to that message because I didn't know. Most people would even say that it's just an intuitive thought or an intuitive feeling that told me I needed to essentially intervene in some way, shape, or form in your life. Mm-hmm. And I do recall helping you. You didn't trust me, because I don't know if you've really ever had anyone in your life that I don't know. There was just a very weird, not weird, but there was a unique dynamic of the relationship that was being built in that time, right? It wasn't just like a friendship, because I didn't do the things you did. I never went out to go get boneless wings and drink some beer and do all that stuff. I never did that. But I was there for you when you needed a ride, or you needed to go to the gym, or you needed to do something that I believed was to better your way of life and the quality that you were receiving.
Yes.
And it's one of those things that, again, I kind of want to open the floor for you to just be honest and real about how you were feeling in those moments, and especially how you were feeling in some of those last moments that you thought may be yours.
The moments leading up, you're right. I had no one to trust. My whole life has moved around. I've moved around to a lot of cities. I've made friends. I've lost friends. With the career field that I was in, there were a lot of fake friends too. You learn that the hard way. And so I guess opening my doors is always a huge thing. For relationships, I've really probably have only had a couple strong, relationships in my life, and I am 37 years old. I wouldn't say I got to use the word strong loosely, but I felt strong about them. But in the long run, did not happen. But at the same time, it's like I can tell that I have trust issues with a lot of people, because I don't know if people want to listen if in that situation. And then when I was laying there in the hospital, I was almost, I wouldn't say begging, but I needed help. At that point, I know I texted you and I told you, hey man, I know I've been lying to you this whole time and everything, but here I am. I'm in the hospital. I don't know if I'm leaving the hospital. You want to come hang out? I know that's a loose term I said, but hang out by my bedside while I'm hanging here, and that's pretty much, you came. And as I got better, I started to realize that I was living in the world where I felt like there was nothing in the future for me. The past was so great. I kept reaching and trying to find the next spot for myself. And in my head, there wasn't any open slots available. I was on a waiting list. I felt like my life was either put on pause or was shut down. And then that was my cry for help. I'm like, I need help. I need to find my purpose in the future. Because obviously what I was doing put me here. And if I get out of here, I'm not going to come back here again. And, I told myself, I'm like, I'm not going to be in this hospital bed again. And it hasn't happened. After my whole spout of, weeks of in the hospital, it has not happened. I still go on a regular basis. Like I said, it affects me and it will affect me down the road, but I was able to get that cry for help out. And you actually were the first one to answer it, because I'm like, hey, I'm in a hospital bed. Come visit me.
Yeah. I think the importance of this entire story is really simple. It's the fact that everybody is going through something. Everybody. And if you take a moment sometimes to just not identify with yourself and look at who's in front of you, have a conversation, watch them, and listen to what they're really saying. Because you didn't verbally tell me anything. Mm-hmm. You never once did. I mean, you lied to me the whole time, buddy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But what you did was you trusted something. And I think that something was the fact that you wanted to be heard so bad. And finally, you were. And I think that you felt unseen. Mm-hmm. You felt like the only thing that has kept you safe was alcohol. Mm-hmm. And giving that up is scary, because how could you ever survive without your alcohol? And the thing is I gone through that. It wasn't to the severity of me being in the hospital, but I've gone through my own alcoholism. Mm-hmm. And because of that experience, I was able to inadvertently see it in someone else and know that you were crying for help. because I once was too. And I had an outside source pull me from the muck, because I believe that it does always take a piece of light. It's like I was a piece of light in your life at that time. Whatever reasoning it was, your prayers were answered through those things. And that's why I really push the idea of to live Meraki, because it is a selfless service to other, in a sense of, and I don't want to say service, it is the teaching of a way of life. And in the same way that you can now see the signs in someone else and potentially open your hand to say, I got you. And that you could potentially save someone, it's not like I saved your life, and I don't even say that I saved your life. I showed you the things you needed to change in your life for you to save your life. Because it is a way of life that you had to choose. You couldn't just stop like drinking. You had to change your habits and the things that you were eating and the things that you were doing for your body to heal itself, essentially, and get back to a place where you can now sit here, 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Sober, and say, I did it. I'm here. And it is one of those things that I believe is something so powerful, so strong, it can shift a paradigm if enough people come together under the unity of understanding that we're all one thing and we can all feel each other because we're all connected. It's just a matter of setting yourself aside sometimes. And that doesn't mean abandon yourself for other. It just means just listen. Sometimes we need to just listen, because if you do, you just might hear the cry for help.
Exactly. And from now on, I'm going to be throwing my hand out to whoever I can. And if one person, out there, I tell anybody, if somebody does it to you and you feel like you just want to say help, do it. It's worth it. Trust me, it could save your life. I still get goosebumps if you get on you get on a platform and sometime after this and look up on YouTube 2023 CMA Awards, New Country Artist of the Year. Jelly Roll won that one. And you talk about a guy that's probably been through almost a lot in his life.
Yes.
And the speech that he gave, basically saying, it's pretty poetic, saying, when a 39-year-old can step up on stage and says, I'm the New Country of the Year or New Artist of the Year award, that's saying something. That life is not in the past. It's what you make the future. And if you need to feel that need to say help, please do it. Because there are people out there like me now and like you, and that will gladly help and talk and do whatever,
Yeah, I think people, if I could say, how do you help someone, right? Like the best advice I could give on how do you help someone, you listen. You don't listen to respond. You listen to what's being said. You remember it, and you're able to develop the true story, because a lot of people are doing things at such a subconscious level, they're unaware of it. Like I said, you never told me verbally what was wrong. But because I was capable of listening, I was able to hear it. And that's truly how you help people. You listen to them. I get some people, may say, well, I'm not listening to, anyone's like sob story, blah, blah, blah. But then those are the same people that wish someone would listen to them. You know what I mean?
And in the long run, this is not a sob story. I do not want anybody to go through what I did, the health-wise either. Some people like needles, some people like tattoos, some people like piercings. Well, sometimes you don't want needles this big going into your stomach and draining 20 pounds of liquid out of your stomach. I'm not saying that getting too graphic, but You
Oh,
know,
I remember coming in, seeing that jar, man, on the counter. I'm like, what the hell is that?
looked like pickle juice.
You're like, they took that out of me. You saved my life. I'm like, what the hell up, dude? What are you talking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, health-wise, yeah, like you said, it was a complete change. Diet, habits, and friends.
Yeah, that is essentially, I wanted, first of all, thank you for asking me to even be on this platform and opening up the idea of just talking about this,
I
because
love it. Yeah.
whatever comes of it, whatever, it's the vulnerability effect of the fact that it's not that I was really in your life for any other reason. And the only time I'm ever in your life, essentially now, for the most part, because we do live a bit of a distance away, where like getting together all the time isn't really plausible.
Yep.
Well, it's plausible, but it's just not. It doesn't make the most sense because we're very busy people.
Yes,
But
exactly.
irregardless, you still do sometimes ask for my advice, and the difference though is that now you trust it, and that now you take it, and it's one of the things that I want other people to learn and experience from, on how to live Meraki. Because again, it is a way of life. I couldn't have showed you the things you needed to do to change your life and you not have done those things, because then you would have died. You would have passed, and you're the one who had to take the action on doing those things. All I did was promise you that if you do these things, your life will change. It'll be better. And you're not going to suffer anymore from this alcoholism. You took the actions on the things that needed to be done. You changed your diet. I remember those messages, man, when you were struggling about eating even, because it's a lifestyle change. You can no longer be the same person. And you're not. The same man that sits here today, adjacent me, is not the same man that lied to me back then.
I was working in that pizza factory back then. Yes.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And there's true, genuine power in other people trying to teach other people that way of life. The simple fact that, hey, you can't lose weight because you take a special pill. You can't stop drinking alcohol because you quit for a few days. You have to change your entire life. You have to change who you're being by the ways you think, by the way you feel, and essentially, ultimately, the way you act. Because all of those things are just catalysts to your acting decision. And that action is creating it all. Because you have to choose every day not to pick up that alcohol again.
Couldn't said any better myself. Thank you.
Yeah. No. You're welcome, man.
If you feel you do have the problem, there's somebody that wants to listen. Just reach out. It's there. Plenty of other hobbies out there. Again, drinking, it's not a bad thing. It's what you do about the drinking. If you depend on it, it's if you're using it as your stress release. That's where things can start going south. Not saying that it will, but it's just the start of it.
Thank you so much, Maddie, for being here.
Meraki, thank you very much, bud.
I appreciate you just dedicating a little piece of your time, which I understand is very valuable, to sharing this piece of essentially what is my life and a piece of my journey, because you were a piece of that. And through that, you've also helped me grow as a man and my abilities to help more people. So thank you, man, truly, for being here. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it, Meraki.
All right. And peace, love,
and live Meraki.